From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Gulf Coast studios in New Orleans, this is the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Fazende, riding shotgun as he does each and every podcast. Is Andre Johnson.
Junior.
Do not forget the Junior. Very important. Remember the JR at the end of the name. Before we get into today's content, be sure to like, to share, to rate, to review. If you are watching us on YouTube, do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Get the bell notification. But when we drop that, fire content. Also, hello to the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. Glad you have found us here. And as we say, please stay here. A lot of stuff happening here. If you were with us last night or yesterday, you saw a post-game show, a pre-game show. Pelicans are starting up soon. There's a whole lot of stuff on this wonderful network known as the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. All right. It's Monday.
Yeah.
Not a victory Monday, not a moral victory Monday. A bad Monday in the city of New Orleans. The Saints went to Chicago and were dominated by the Chicago Bears, ending their 8-game win streak against the Bears, ending their 4-game win streak in the Windy City, and falling to 1-6. And I believe Juan Kincaid gave me the stat, the first time they were 1-6 since 1999, something like that.
I was 4 years old.
It's been a long, long, long time. So, here we are on this Monday. We're going to talk about all the things with this game, including the biggest topic, which I know you have been talking about, we have been talking about. You know we're going to get into it. But first things first, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. You know, I was always poking fun at us having moral victory Mondays, but they feel a little better than whatever this is. I mean, goodness gracious, that game in Chicago was horrible. You were there at Soldier Field getting rained on throughout the pregame show, but the weather, you know, cleared up for the actual game for the most part, and it didn't matter. It was a messy performance on the field. The grass, the play, everything was messy, which makes us look at this. Spencer Rattler's performance. Not only was it his worst game of the year, it was one of the worst games of his career. And as we step back, Spencer Rattler is 1-12 as a starter, 1-13 overall. We know that the Saints have a second-round pick at the quarterback position on the bench. Tyler Shough, their highest drafted quarterback since Archie Manning way back when, about 50 years ago. So knowing that, after that performance on Sunday, is it finally time for the Saints to move on from Spencer Rattler at quarterback?
Well, it's funny that you asked that because Kellen Moore was asked about that a few times as press conference Monday. I was not at that press conference, but it was certainly asked, and he gave this response.
That's a week to week. I mean, we'll see as we go. We're focused on getting better right now. We got to get better, and so you know, Spencer obviously, we had a game where some turnovers occurred. We get to respond.
All right, Andre. So Kellen's sticking with Spencer for at least one more week. He mentioned something in there about it being week to week at some point, depending on, I guess, how stuff goes. But back to the big picture topic, with all due respect to Kellen Moore, with all due respect to the Spencer Rattler, supporters, which there are a lot of you.
A lot of them.
I disagree. It is 100% time to move on to Tyler Shough. You may be expecting us to dump all over Rattler today. I'm not going to do that. Yesterday was bound to happen. But we do have to talk in terms of the big picture. I'll talk a little bit about the game, but in its totality of the Spencer Rattler experiment. I just believe the Rattler fans, supporters, and it's your guy, that's fine. I just think you're all missing the signs. I think you were all missing the signs. Last week perfectly illustrated on the football field in real time against the Patriots the gap between a young franchise quarterback and one who is not a young franchise quarterback. This week perfectly illustrated the ceiling and the floor debate that I have been trying to explain when it comes to Spencer Rattler. A bad outing like the one Rattler had yesterday was bound to happen, as I said. Quarterbacks have them all the time. And you're never as bad as your worst performance. But when you get a performance like that, you have to contrast that with what his positive performances look like. His bad was terrible. We saw it. He was pressing. Almost like he wanted to outgun Caleb Williams at times with some of the stuff, and he had tunnel vision. I'm watching all 22 right now. He missed about 4 receivers in the first quarter that were open. 4 turnovers. Should have had at least 1 or 2 more, if we're being honest. That's his bad. That's his worst performance of his career probably, but certainly this year. His good is what exactly? What is his good? 1 win where you score 1 offensive touchdown and have 5 takeaways on defense?
He's not always the reason they lose.
A couple of losses where they don't score 20 offensive points and you walk off the field and say, well, like you just said, he wasn't the main reason they lost. Is that really the world we want to live in right now when it comes to the franchise, this team, and the most important position on the field? Rattler was a 5th-round pick. 5th-round picks are drafted to be backups in the NFL. In the extremely rare case, a later-round pick becomes a legitimate starting quarterback. Only in extremely rare cases. And usually, when those outliers take place, those respective QBs, call it the Brock Purdy types, they all come out of the gate very, very quickly and wow you very quickly, okay? Because they know they are not granted unlimited opportunities. And if you come out the gate fast, game after game after game, you overwhelm everybody and you start having people thinking. Rattler has now started 13 games. He's played in 14. I'm going to just stick with the starts, okay? He's gone 1-12, and there is not a single time you have ever walked off the field and said, Rattler was the best player on the field. Franchise quarterbacks don't do that every single week, but it's going to happen a lot, okay?
Well, PFF said he outplayed Drake May the other day.
Exactly. It happened multiple times with Purdy when he first got on the scene. Like a Dak Prescott type who was a 4th-round pick. I remember that first year with the Cowboys, he was wowing people, and that's why they were able to put Romo on the bench and others. Another big picture thing. Nothing illustrates, in my opinion, just how far the Saints have drifted away from contender status than this debate about whether a 5th-round pick who's leading an offense that's averaging 17 points a game and 1 win on his resume is the guy. Because most of his losses this season weren't his fault. Just think of Drew Brees. This is sad where we're living right now. And this is not all Rattler's fault, but it's sad when you think about it. Like I said, it's not Rattler's fault. Rattler, to me, has given the Saints exactly what a quality 5th-round quarterback usually gives. When called upon, play decent enough football, avoid mistakes to give your team a chance to win. He's done that most of this year. Avoided the big mistake, played clean enough to where if the certain things happen in certain situations, maybe they flip and the outcome is a different one. He's done that most of the year until Sunday. Sunday, he was awful. But don't confuse the standards of a good or a high-end backup, which is what I believe Rattler truly can be, with the standards of a franchise quarterback. Just because he's doing well to surpass the backup status does not mean he's all of a sudden qualified to leap to franchise quarterback status, because in the 13 games that he has now started and won 1, the last half of them, he wasn't the main reason why they lost. That's just not good enough. That's just not good enough. Which brings me to Tyler Shough. Andre, remind me again, who was the 2nd-round pick drafted by this coaching staff, and who was the 5th rounder they inherited?
That would be Tyler Shough as the 2nd rounder, and the 5th round they inherited would be Spencer Rattler.
Because if you didn't know any better, you'd think those roles were reversed right now. You'd think Rattler is the 2nd-round pick that this coaching staff has all the faith in, that drafted, they scouted him and all this stuff, and Tyler Shough was the guy that they inherited. We made it perfectly clear, you and I, that this idea of should they turn to Shough now or this bench Rattler now, we made it perfectly clear this should have never started. It should have been from day one Tyler Shough. We both agreed to that to start the season. I watched every practice. You watched the majority of the practices. It was neck and neck and neck and neck. And it went, if you remember, all QB controversies or QB competitions were decided except the Saints, and they went it all the way into like the Wednesday of the week before the game to finally come out and say who the starting quarterback was going to be. They rolled with Rattler. Fine. Now that we're 7 games in, I only feel stronger in that belief that they should have started Shough from game one, given the sample size, and now, or given that the sample size of Rattler has grown to 7 games this season and 6 games last season. I have no doubt that at least initially, Rattler probably would have appeared a little steadier, a little calmer, probably a little more efficient. And with Shough, had he started week one, it would have been more drastic peaks and valleys and ups and downs with his performance. But after 7 games with Shough, hypothetically, of course, you're telling me he couldn't have gone 1-6? You're telling me he couldn't have managed 17 points a game? You're telling me he couldn't have gotten the Saints to the mid-20s in passing offense by this point? The process to get to those points probably would have looked a little different, but in the final result through 7 games, simply could not have been much worse, if at all, had you gone with Tyler Shough this 7 games. And he would have worked through some of the ups and the downs and the inevitable pitfalls that happen and growing pains that happen when you are a rookie quarterback starting your first games. All that to say, I know I'm getting long here. All that to say this, Andre, is it time to move to Tyler Shough and move on from Spencer Rattler? It has been time to do so. Been time to do so, and we know, at least initially, when they do, it will not be pretty, but you have to see if he truly has what it takes. And this is where it annoys me with some of the response we get from the Rattler fans. He has had more of his fair share, more than a fair opportunity. I mean, 13 games, a quarterback guru or an offensive guru and Kellen Moore. He's still got all these opportunities, mostly healthy. He has had more than a fair opportunity to show what he can do. It is now time for the guy you drafted to possibly be the guy to see if he can actually get there. So, yes, it's time to move on from Spencer Rattler. Even though it's not happening this week, it is time to turn to Tyler Shough. What say you? It's
been time to move to Tyler Shough. I mean, since week 1 of the season. But now we're here saying the same thing, which means this season has not been a success. And Rat Pack, I'm begging, can we raise the bar, the standard of what we expect from the quarterback position? I mean, you mentioned the Drew Brees days. Of course, the Drew Brees days were full of success, but compared to this, the Jameis Winston days were more successful. The Andy Dalton days were more successful. The Derek Carr days were more successful. Even the Taysom Hill days, and he's not even a quarterback officially anymore. All more successful than this Spencer Rattler experiment. We're 7 weeks into the season, Sean. He scored 8 touchdowns in 7 weeks. He's got 5 turnovers in 7 weeks. 23rd in passing yards per game. That's below average. 28th in touchdowns per game, passing touchdowns per game, below average. 23rd in passer rating, below average. 27th in yards per attempt, below average. 14th in completion percentage, which is linked to that 27th in passing yards per attempt, average at best. 1-12 as a starter, below average. 0-5 in one-score ball games in that 13-game span. He's had opportunities. He had one in week 1 against Arizona. He had one in week 2 against the 49ers. He's had opportunities to win more games than he has. He's had the ball driving with a chance to win or tie the ball game, and he has not come through in those moments. He is who he is, a backup quarterback, and that's not an insult to say. I mean, he was drafted to be a backup quarterback in the 5th round. He is a backup quarterback in this league. He's a guy where if your starter gets hurt, you turn, okay, well, we have Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler can play good enough football to maybe keep us afloat until our starter comes back. But in this 13-game sample size, he has not shown that he is a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL. And all the excuses are gone at this point. You want to blame Clint Kubiak? He's gone. You got Kellen Moore, one of the hottest offensive minds in the coaching market over the offseason. You got him. Dennis Allen was the problem. Dennis Allen's gone. You got Kellen Moore. It was the injury. That's all we heard last year. When we were talking about him last year when he didn't win a game last year. It was injuries this, injuries that. He was playing with practice squad players. He didn't have Olave. He didn't have Shaheed. He's got them all now. They went into Sunday as healthy as they could ever be. Didn't matter. I mean, now they want to say, now that the team's healthy, oh, well, look at the playmakers. These are the same playmakers y'all were complaining that he didn't have last year. Now he got them, and all of a sudden, oh, it's the playmakers. It's always everybody else's fault. Like, imagine caping for a 1-12 quarterback who's never had a great game. Spencer Rattler has never played 4 quarters. that make you sit back and say,
That's
wow,
the one. Right.
Win or loss, because I've seen it in wins, I've seen it in losses, even from the worst of quarter. Bryce Young isn't a great quarterback by any means, but Week 18 against Atlanta last year, 5 touchdowns, you sit back and you say, wow, okay. You know, Jackson Dart in his young career
He's already
made
there.
you say,
He's already there.
wow, you know, like it happens for every young quarterback. Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix. Any young quarterback has had a 4-quarter stretch in some game that makes you sit back and say, wow, I'm glad we had so-and-so today. It's been he's played almost a full season worth of football over 2 years. He has not had that moment. So, yes, I'm ready to see Tyler Shough. Now, I'm not saying Tyler Shough is the guy.
We've made that point clear, right?
I have very famously said, I don't think the guy is on this roster. I think he's in a college classroom somewhere. So I'm not saying Tyler Shough is the guy, but it's the fact that we don't know. It is clear we know what Spencer Rattler is at this point. We don't know what Tyler Shough is. And there may be a blessing in the unknown when it comes to Tyler Shough, because he did rise up draft boards. He did get picked in the 2nd round, and there was talk that he could be picked in the 1st round. There were people saying Tyler Shough was the 2nd best quarterback in the draft after Cam Ward. That would be ahead of Jackson Dart, who's had a heck of a rookie year so far. So I want to see what Tyler Shough has. Most importantly, I said we're 7 weeks into the season. They've got 11 weeks left in the season.
10 games.
10 games. At some point.
How much of a sample size do you want?
You had, just like we can sit back and we can say it is very clear that what Spencer Rattler is because we've seen a 13-game sample size. We've got to have some kind of sample size to judge Tyler Shough off of. If Tyler Shough comes in the last month of the season and plays 4 games, can you judge him off of those 4 games enough to go into the draft in April and say, we need a quarterback, we don't need a quarterback? Because my biggest priority is going into April knowing what you need. Because at this rate, you're going to be top 3, top 5 in that draft. You're going to be looking at a Dante Moore. You're going to be looking at a Fernando Mendoza. You're going to be looking at those guys. Or you're looking at your locker room, Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shough, and saying, we're good on them. We got the guy here. We've seen enough to say that Spencer Rattler isn't the guy here. Let's get Tyler Shough in the game. Let's get him the 90% of the reps in practice. Let's really let him build chemistry with this team and see what he's got. If he's got something great, if he doesn't,
go to the next. I mean, you're not winning this year anyway. I mean, look, the best he can do, he surprises you. The worst he can do, he matches the 1-6 record you just have.
Exactly.
I mean, or he doesn't win a game and you're one below what you've just put forth. But here's what's going to happen, Andre. Rattler's going to play decent next week. He's going to play decent against. They're probably going to lose, even though they're catching another team on a short week, coming off of a primetime game. Hasn't worked out for them yet, but I think Tampa plays, depending on when you watch this, they're playing Monday Night Football. So I could certainly see him playing well. He has the tendency to do just enough when his back's against the wall to hold on to his job. But they've got to be done playing that game at some point. I would have been done with it. Probably was done with it after the Buffalo game. I mean, I was done with it before the season. The Buffalo game would have been a perfect opportunity. They decided not to do it. He gets the win. New England was whatever. And then obviously he had his worst performance. He's opened the door for the coaches to do it. I'm a little bit perplexed by seemingly a high level of loyalty to a guy they didn't draft. A high level of let's give him another opportunity to a guy you didn't spend any time drafting over the guy. I mean, look, Tyler Shough, if you look at his pre-draft situation, he was on no one's board. To shoot up draft boards like that, for you to draft him in the 2nd round, clearly you had some kind of conviction on this guy. Yeah. And if you watch his training camp, we criticized him the first week.
We did.
How he looked like a fish out of, how he just looked, everything was swimming. From that point to see how much he grew by the end of training camp, it's like, how can you not be excited by that as a coach for a guy that you invested in to see that much growth from one training camp from the start to finish? And now, when you do inevitably turn to him, which I think they will at some point, he now almost has to, like, he's not just going to pick up where he left off at the end of training camp. He's going to need some time to get himself acclimated. So how much of a grace period do you give him? Is it 2 games? Is it 3 games? And then, okay, well, how much does that account for the sample size once you get into that? So it's just, to me, they're running out of time. They're running out of logic, in my opinion. Yeah. And for the look, and I know a lot of y'all still are pulling for Rattler, and we're not pulling for him. But I just think the reality has set in that, I mean, he needs 2 top 5 receivers. He needs an elite offensive line. He needs a top 5 tight end. He's the most unique player in the NFL in Taysom Hill. He needs 2 top 5 running backs. Oh, he needs a defense that takes the ball away 5 times, and probably needs a softer opponent because every time they go up against a contender, it's a tough challenge. I mean, it just feels like there's so much that needs to be in place before his fan base wants us to where he can be properly evaluated. If any of those things are not true, then all of a sudden it's not his fault. Well, Sunday, like, he was one of the biggest reasons why he lost that game. So I think even a strong section of the Rattler kind of fan club there, and we have a few in our office, starting to pull back a little bit because, look, if that's the worst, and you're trying to find the best, and the best is, okay, you had one win, they scored 19 offensive points, and they had 5 takeaways from the defense, then that's a low floor and a low ceiling at that point. So I just don't understand how many. I don't know how many more opportunities he needs to get. The truth of the matter is, when he plays, if his next opportunity comes, it's unlikely he'll throw for 3 picks. It's more likely he'll do what he's been doing. Not the main reason why they lost the game, and you just find yourself right back in the same spot, which at this point has got to start getting frustrating. I can't believe there aren't more. I guess Kellen Moore is the guy that matters the most, but I can't believe there aren't more in that staff that are kind of pulling for, all right, we got to see what we got in this Tyler Shough kid.
Yeah, like the word you said was logic. It's illogical to me at this point. I mean, at this point, let's say Kellen Moore was high on Spencer Rattler. Maybe, he saw him throughout college, saw him his rookie year. They said maybe there's something there. Yeah. At this point, we've seen enough of him to say whatever we thought was there, it's not there enough. You see the term, you got to take the good with the bad, and that goes to your floor versus ceiling argument.
Exactly.
There's a lot of great quarterbacks in this league that have had stinkers for games. The best quarterback in the world has thrown 3 picks, had 4 turnovers, has had a crucial fumble, has failed to lead a game-winning drive. But the best quarterbacks in the world have also wowed you, have also had 4 touchdown games, have also won games that they weren't supposed to win. With Spencer Rattler, the ceiling, the best game he's had was a loss to the 49ers, probably, in week 2 against the backup quarterback, the team that was missing their tight end in George Kittle and lost their fullback in Kyle Juszczyk, It's just, to me, the best version of Spencer Rattler is still not good enough to consistently win you games. So for me, I've seen enough. I'd like to see the other guy. And once again, we will reiterate, although people will not listen, we are not saying that Spencer Rattler is the entire problem with the New Orleans Saints. That is not the case. Defense allowed 20 points in the first half again.
Of course. Yeah,
I said it last week. First half defense, the Saints came into this week dead last in the NFL, averaging 20.2 points given up in the first half of games. They allow 6.5 in the second half, which is 3rd best. Saw another one of those performances. They give up 20 points in the first half. They tighten up in the second half, but the Saints are now playing from behind. They can't get the run game going because you're down 20-0 in the first half, and the Saints are not a team that's talented enough to climb back. We've seen this movie so many times, but you've got a different actor in the locker room that can maybe change up these scenes, change up the script a little bit. I want to see him get in.
Yeah, and look, I mean, at the end of the day, you're not scoring points.
You're not.
I don't care how you look at it, how the reasons, you're not getting in the end zone enough. You're not putting enough points on the scoreboard. You've had one game where you've scored over 20 points in a game, offensive points in a game. That was week 2 against San Francisco. You have trailed the entirety of a game 4 or 5 times this year. That means you have not led for 1 second. That's hard to do in the NFL. There has to be an increased level of production. And look, I know McCoy got banged. He's out for the year now, which is unfortunate. That'll be his back-to-back years where he missed 10 games. That's unfortunate. That's a huge injury for them. But up until that injury, you've been healthy. You've had the best version. You've had all your skill position players. You've had Kamara. Now I know obviously they lost Kendre Miller as well. That double whammy there with Kendre and McCoy going down. But up until this point, it's only going to get more difficult because tape's out on you, and inevitably injuries happen. You hope you can survive them. They've been able to avoid them, and this is still the product. And I got to say this: we're looking at Spencer Rattler, but what I'm talking about with not, trailing for the entirety of the game 4 different times or 5 different times, not scoring over 20 offensive points, that's got to be on the head coach as well, who is also the play caller. And it's at some point we're going to crank the heat up on him as well, because that is completely unacceptable, especially you talk about compare and contrast. That was a young offensive-minded head coach for the Bears.
On the other side.
Okay. With a second-year quarterback. Now, obviously, he was no one overall pick, but there was a lot of connections there between he and Spencer Rattler. I mean, look at the result. I mean, look at the difference and just the offensive how fluent they were. Even when I didn't think Caleb Williams played all that great, but they still were no doubt winning that game with the way they played.
Yeah, and it's not going to get any easier, whether it's for Spencer or whether it's for Tyler Shough, whoever's playing quarterback, because like you mentioned, Eric McCoy is out, and the Saints went 1 for 10. 1-10 with Eric McCoy out last year.
Right.
Eric McCoy raises the entire stock of that offensive line because he's a veteran and he's incredibly talented at what he does. Kendre Miller was starting to really break out, and hopefully he was leaning towards starting to give the Saints that 1-2 punch at running back. Now he's out. Alvin Kamara has not been able to run the ball great so far this year. This is back-to-back games where a team that we thought would be centered around the run has not been able to run. So it's not getting any easier. It only gets harder as the season goes along and you get into conference play, because you really haven't played any NFC South teams yet.
No, exactly.
Like those are the games where they play you the hardest and it means the most. So it's only getting harder. I mean, and you're 1-6 right now, so it's not looking up.
It's not looking up, and you need increased production from somewhere. And you and I would agree that's somewhere, at least initially, needs to be at that quarterback position. I think that's where you can maybe make up the most ground. But we'll see. They're rolling with Rattler for the time being. All right, we got to get out of here. Andre Johnson Jr., Sean Fazende. We'll catch you guys next time on Overtime.